Bethesda are a once-beloved games developer. They produce some of the most adored games in the history of games. But recently, the company has shown signs of the microtransaction disease of prioritizing revenue over gameplay. And if their latest game is any indication of how they're making games now, it's about to get a whole lot worse. It's nothing short of an abomination. A microtransaction-filled minefield. The mobile bastard child of one of the most beloved gaming franchises. Fathered by the king, mothered by a filthy, money-grabbing peasant. The mongrel of the Elder Scrolls series. Not even the same breed as its pure-blood siblings, Skyrim, Oblivion, and Morrowind. It's the runt of the litter. It features maybe the worst example of in-game monetization that we've ever seen. If, in fact, it would be correct to call this thing a game. It's a violation of values, a horror, an obscenity. They call it Elder Scrolls Blades. I get it, making games costs money. Money which you need to recoup in one way or another. But notice that I said one way or another, because Blades has up to 8 ways in which it intends to milk you dry. And those ways being, there's the pay to skip a loot chest timer, which locks your loot for up to 6 hours unless you pay for it, because of a limit on the amount of chests you can have at any one time, and you can't even scrap them. So once your inventory is full, your only choice is to pay to open the ones you have in order to accumulate more. You could just outright buy chests if you don't feel like actually playing the game. You can also just outright buy loot if you don't feel like gambling on the chests. There's the pay to skip the wait timers on all the buildings in the town that you're building. There's pay to skip the crafting wait timer. There's the pay to auto complete the jobs board. And finally, there's the pay for an extra life if you die during missions. With Elder Scrolls 6 just around the corner, Bethesda are currently balls deep in figuring out how that game will be monetized. And the problem for Bethesda fans who actually like meaningful gameplay is that Blades' microtransactions disease might just infect their future games. And if Blades is any indication of the Bethesda mindset in which they're making games now, there may be no saving Bethesda. The microtransaction disease may be too far advanced. And don't get us wrong, we've got no problems with companies making money from developing games, but when revenue is prioritized over gameplay, then they cease to be games anymore. First and foremost, all they become is a method of milking you of your cash. Let's just hope Bethesda find a cure for the monetization disease before that bastard Blades ascends to the throne and good Bethesda games are lost to the past.
It's very Game of Thrones, this, like Robert Baratheon's bastard son.
It's in theme, right?
Wench,
it's in theme because it's like the Elder Scrolls fantasy thing. But for those of you saying, this is just a mobile game, I get it. It's a free game. It's a mobile game, but it's indicative of the mindset. If this is how they're making games these days, the whole reason that game exists isn't for you go out on a mission, you get a chest, right? Just like you do in Skyrim, you open a chest or something. You can't open that chest because there's a timer on it,
and you've got a fixed amount of chests you can hold. So you have to open them to then put more in. And
the problem is, right? You get like 10 chests. The timers don't go down at the same time. You've got to wait for one chest to open before the timer goes on the other chest. So in a few days of playing, you could have hundreds of hours worth of wait just to open these chests, which have filled your inventory, so you can't go out and explore more because you're just waiting. This whole thing is just a ridiculous way to create a game. In fact, like I said there, it's not really a game anymore. It's just waiting around. It's so egregious, it's ridiculous. But the problem is, if it makes too much money, then Bethesda be like, this works. Why don't we've seen it in Fallout 76 recently, where they promised to have a microtransaction only atomic shop. Now they're bringing in these gameplay altering transactions in the shop where you can up your condition of your weapons. So where does it stop for them? Like, we used to love Bethesda. We used to love these games, right? Skyrim and Oblivion, some of my favorite games ever, right? And it would be an absolute shame if Elder Scrolls 6 comes out and it's infected with this horrible monetization disease. It's just awful what they've done. But that is just the way that I feel about it. Do you think I've gone too far? Do you think I'm over-exaggerating? Do you think everything will be fine for Elder Scrolls 6? If so, let me know how you feel down in the comments below. Or if you agree with me, then let me know that too.
But enough about bullshit microtransaction nonsense in games. Let's get everyone's favourite part of the day done, and that's your daily news nuggets. The Japanese action-adventure game Yakuza Kiwami 2 is coming to PC in May. We got this new trailer confirming that the game will be out on May the 9th. It will cost £24.99 and will feature 4K resolution, unlocked frame rates, customizable controls, and robust graphics options.
The original Pokemon movie from 2000 is getting a full CGI remake. We got a new Japanese trailer for the upcoming movie showing off Ash, Brock, and Misty, as well as some iconic scenes from the original movie.
In other Pokemon movie news, we got a new Detective Pikachu trailer. It features some classic Pokemon auditioning for their roles in the movie, as well as some brand new footage.
An image has been leaked of the upcoming Jedi Fallen Order game ahead of the official unveiling, which will happen tomorrow. The poster art shows a crashed Venator-class Star Destroyer with a lightsaber-wielding Jedi in the foreground. In another leak for the game, it was confirmed that the game will not feature the Frostbite engine, with Respawn instead opting to use the Unreal Engine. So there may be hope for the game yet. Get in there.
We're almost there! We're almost! One of Sony's biggest upcoming exclusives may be in some development trouble. Ghost of Tsushima, an action-adventure game by Sucker Punch set during the Mongol invasion of Japan, is in need of a new narrative writer. The role requires a lot of work, including writing high-quality dialogue and the ability to pitch, write, iterate, and revise work under tight deadlines, and repeatedly stresses the importance of these deadlines.
Guerrilla Games rose to prominence with their work on the first-person shooter franchise Killzone and became an even greater success with the release of Horizon Zero Dawn. It looks like their next game may feature multiplayer in some capacity, as a job listing is seeking a Java developer to work on a heavily multiplayer game. This shouldn't come as a surprise because it has been rumored for a while, but given the studio size, it's certainly possible they could be working on this multiplayer project and a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn.
The Division 2 has received another update this week. Update 2.0 will address overly aggressive enemies, weapon, talent, and skill balancing, player survivability, and bullet sponge foes.
Ubisoft have had to remove an image which appears in The Division 2 because it includes a homophobic slur. The image of a policeman eating a donut appears on the side of a building. The police officer's badge featured the ID FA6607.
Xbox Game Pass is once again bringing a bunch of new games to the subscription service in April. This month's offerings include Capcom's Monster Hunter World from 2018 and Arcane's 2017 game Prey. Not a bad offering at all.
Despite review bombings of Borderlands 2 on Steam, because of Borderlands 3's Epic Store exclusivity backlash, the game has actually seen an upturn in player figures recently. It peaked in the top 5 of Steam's most played games list with around 60,000 concurrent players last Sunday, up from an average daily high of around 15,000 players.
Whether it's too difficult for you or not, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is certainly making headlines. It's reported that the game has sold 2 million copies within the first 10 days. That's 2 million new gamers trying to get good.
Time for the joke.
Time for a joke.
Time for the joke.
Joke. Okay, this is from the Discord, which you get access to if you are a patron over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. You probably all know that by now. This comes in from Tons. A cannibal once took my sister to see a Russell Crowe movie. Gladiator? No, I really miss her.
Nice.
It's one of those where when you read it, you're like, I don't get it. You have to say it. You have to
Gladiator.
Gladiator. Activision-Blizzard is best known for dodgy business practices like making games filled with bullshit microtransactions and laying off staff by the hundreds. The company's not exactly known for treating their employees in the best possible ways. But if you're pregnant at work for the company, you have nothing to worry about. They're going to take real good care of you. Speaking to the Washington Post, Activision-Blizzard VP of Global Benefits, Milt Ezard, said, "I want them to have a healthy baby because it's great for our business experience, rather than having a baby who's in the neonatal ICU where she's not able to focus much on the work."
I don't want your baby to be ill, because then you won't be able to focus on your work.
It's such a distraction, you going through the trauma that childbirth can be.
We would hate for your child to be ill for any reason, because you're not going to be able to do your job. Like, that's so compassionate. Who the fuck is he kidding?
The company has partnered with Ovia, a pregnancy tracking app. The app tracks things like sleep, mood, diet, weight, and even your sex life and appearance of cervical fluid. Activision then pay Ovia to access the anonymized and aggregated data. Think of it like Bobby Kotick personally staring down a microscope directly inside your vagina.
My vagina?
Your vagina.
Wow, that's rude.
Buy me a drink first at least, Bob, come on. Now, you may be wondering, what's in it for me? I don't really want Mr. Kotick exploiting my pregnancy. Well, fear not, you'll get a whole $1 in gift cards per day you use the app. That's right, the exact same price as a red dot reticle in Black Ops 4. Isn't that nice? Your personal data about your body and unborn child is as valuable to Activision as a virtual weapon attachment in a video game. Diana Dillard didn't seem too fazed by all this though. Maybe I'm naive, but I thought of it as positive reinforcement. They're trying to help me take care of myself. You are naive. As soon as I said, maybe I'm being like, yeah, you probably are. I mean, I'm sure you've got your reasons, but if you use the app for every day throughout the 9-month pregnancy period, you could net yourself about $273. Maybe that'll finally be enough to buy all the content you're missing in any Activision game. Some aren't seeing the glorious work of God that Activision-Blizzard is doing, showing concerns about the security of the data being supplied and what the company will actually use it for. Karen Levy, a Cornell University assistant professor, said, "What could possibly be the most optimistic, best faith reason for an employer to know how many high-risk pregnancies their employees have, so they can put more brochures in the break room? The real benefit of self-tracking is always to the company. People are being asked to do this at a time when they're incredibly vulnerable and may not have any sense where that data is being passed." Psychiatrist Deborah C. Peel is worried about the potential discrimination that abuse of this data may lead to. The fact that women's pregnancies are being tracked that closely by employers is very disturbing. There's so much discrimination against mothers and families in the workplace, and they can't trust their employer to have their best interests at heart. Apps like this don't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon either. Ovia has over 10 million users and claims to be one of the largest data sets of women's health in the world. Consulting firm Frost & Sullivan projects that tracking apps for women's nutrition, menstruation, and sexual wellness could be worth as much as $50 billion by 2025. For Activision to access the pregnancy data from Ovia, the users will need to consent to a 6,000-word terms of use agreement which grants royalty-free, perpetual and irrevocable license throughout the universe to utilize and exploit their de-identified personal information for scientific research and external and internal marketing purposes. So once they've got you, they're never letting you go. How do you feel about uterus surveillance?
I mean, I'd have agreed to it if they'd have left it throughout just this galaxy, but since the license extends to the whole universe, I'm not sure.
I've seen enough sci-fi movies to know there's a bunch of weird stuff in the universe. I don't want them to see the world's pregnancies.
Is that just an indication of how far they're willing to go with this license? Like, they want license for everything, not just this galaxy, like everything.
Forever and for the whole universe. Forever. Yeah. Even when you stop being alive and when they stop being alive, they still have the right to use it.
And far in the future, when we're outside of this galaxy, like there's no...
I still got you, Diana. I got you. Well, it is voluntary, so no one's forcing you to do this. But it seems like, why do they need it? Well, they're peddling it being like, oh, so that we can help you, and if you're having a troubled pregnancy, we can give you all the resources you need and the time you need to cope with it and everything, which sounds lovely. But it's Activision.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds lovely, but it seems to me like they're coming from a perspective of, right, these women in the workplace are going to have babies. And so when they have babies, we want to minimize that disruption to our business. So how can we do that? Let's track them and make sure that everything's right with their pregnancy so they can have their babies as seamlessly as possible, and then we can get them straight back into work so that the babies don't suffer, because otherwise we'll lose money from them being out of work. It just sounds very dystopian, right? It's just like the controlling and like they're pulling the strings on all these employees in order so that they don't lose out on money. That's that being their primary motivation screams of why the freaking hell. The guy even said it in an interview with the Washington Post. He's admitting it. He's not got the babies or the mother's interests at heart. He's all he's interested in is disruption to the business.
Yeah, just get back to work.
Fucking hell.
So we have to give you maternity leave. But now if we're monitoring your pregnancy, we can make sure we give you enough maternity leave. Or if they're like, no, you're taking too much, your baby's too healthy, you need to come back.
So that you're not exploiting it, so that you're looking after yourself enough so that we don't lose out on money, so that because you might have bad illness or something like that, or something else might happen. So it's so... why would anybody in their right mind agree to that for $1 per day?
Yeah, the professor at Cornell put it a really good point out, saying that these people are vulnerable. Like when you're pregnant, all you care about is the child, right? And it's a very, very stressful time for every mother, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So that's a particularly vulnerable state, and you're going to do everything you can to try and make sure things are safe. And if they're saying, check these boxes and type these things in your app, and it'll make your child safer and healthier, of course they're going to think, that's a great idea.
And the added benefit is while they're on maternity leave, they've got all that extra revenue to buy those microtransactions in Black Ops. I mean, they're not going to pay for themselves.
You can take that $1 you just got paid and buy the red dot sight on your gun.
It sounds like a good deal to me. So there you have your gaming news roundup for Friday. We will be back not next week now because somebody has to go on holiday.
It's him.
God,
it's him.
Disgraceful.
Can't afford to go on holiday.
I mean, I can't keep up this white complexion for the rest of my life. I've got dazzling you with my white skin. I've got to remedy that somehow, right?
That's why I'm wearing this hat, trying to cover my eyes.
So next week the gaming news roundups won't be as scheduled. We'll be back the week after with the gaming news roundups. But however, Henry will be at the helm next week. God knows what he's going to produce. We can only cross our fingers and hope he comes up with something half intelligent, right?
I'm gonna build an app that forces you to input your data every time you go to the toilet. I want to know. And it's so that I can make you a better viewer. So if you're sitting there watching our videos and you need the toilet,
we need the retention. We need the viewer
that's
retention.
distracting.
Yeah, I've got to be distracted by that bullshit.
It's absurd.
Or literal shit.
And I'll give you no money.
If you want to help support us bring you this content to YouTube, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgame and check out some of the awesome rewards that you can get in return for being a patron. I will see you again week after next. You'll probably see or hear Henry at least next week.
Bad luck.
Yeah. You might as well go on holidays yourselves, guys, because you won't be missing out much. We'll see you then. Bye for now.
I'm spinning my hat round between every section to really fuck with people.
Great. Trying to cheat people. You've not only cheated yourself.
I'm cheating the viewers. The thing about college girls is as I get older, they're staying the same age.